Hey everybody, welcome to Workforce Gaming. I am Brad, here to talk about TRON Catalyst. This game is the follow-up to TRON Identity, which was an incredible visual novel, narrative, puzzle, choice game, to kind of throw out a whole bunch of adjectives, that came out a couple of years ago that I absolutely loved. It was an incredible game. The thing to start with here is that this does change a few things up. It is a sequel to it, and you can tell that if you've played the original game. I think if you haven't, the winks and nods to it, because this takes place further down the line in the future, the winks and nods to it I feel like are just going to fly over your head, because it does do a pretty good job of explaining what's going on, I think. And it also changed up the gameplay completely. Like I said, that was a visual novel, lots of puzzle solving. This is very much a top-down action game more than anything else. So substantially different than the prior game. So to start with, I think TRON Catalyst, the thing that stood out to me the most is how much you could feel the passion for Tron in this. I love Tron. It's not one of my favorite franchises, but I do absolutely love the movies. Not my favorite, but you can tell that the people who are making this, just everything about it just screams like, okay, we understand Tron, we know what this franchise should be and is. Callbacks to, the original movie, using a lot of the style and the flair that the newer stuff has had. Just, it's all there. The writing and dialogue in particular is just great. Again, the last one was a visual novel, so obviously that needed it. In a top-down action game, you don't need it as much, but this really, you can tell that they have a background in that, because the writing is just phenomenal. Anytime there's text on the screen or voiceover, it's the best parts of the game in my mind. So to get into a little bit more of what this game actually is here, so this takes place, and TRON Identity did as well, on a backup grid that Flynn has created in addition to the grid that you see in the movies. So the people in the program, or I guess not people, the programs in this are aware of Flynn. They're aware of some of these things that have happened in the other grid, but they are kind of independent of it. So I think that lends itself well to a video game where it's like, okay, we can reference the other things, but we're not going to directly call on it. So basically you play EXO, who is just a courier in the intro, which the intro is very well done. The first 5 minutes, very cool in this game. You're delivering a package, and the package randomly explodes, and you die. But do you? And basically you gain this kind of time looping power where you can reset a loop and you can go back, and nobody else in the grid understands that this is happening. Nobody else notices anything. Nothing changes. You just kind of have a hard reset there. Kind of almost like, to use video game terms, if you were to hit start and restart checkpoint. It's basically a button that does that, and then it kind of resets all of the things that are happening in the game. Basically, this creates problems, and there's all kinds of issues going on this grid where the programs are kind of aware that it's probably getting shut down and ending for some reason. So you've got a couple different factions kind of arguing about what's best to do, what way to go, and essentially EXO just kind of gets tossed into the middle of this, and it's very much just a game of like, I have to get to the outside of this, I have to get away from this, these people are chasing me, I have this power, I need to understand this power, and ultimately, hey, core and the power that is in charge right now is not the people that I believe should be, so what can we do to fight against that? And it's just kind of, I think the general story concept is just kind of a normal thing that you would get. Where it gets interesting is, again, just all the Tron stuff with grid and programs, and then throwing this time loop on top of there. So it kind of plays with it in that way to make it a little bit more interesting. So to get to the gameplay here, and this is the biggest change for this, obviously coming from a visual novel. And I absolutely love everything about this game that I've mentioned so far. The gameplay, though, it wasn't doing it for me. I'm not quite sure exactly why. I don't want to say it's bad. It's not bad. It's just one of those games where it's like, okay, I just kind of hit the attack button over and over and over again and see what happens next. And that's fine, but it kind of, because the writing and the story and what's going on with these characters and the dialogue moments are so good, it's just like, ugh, I just want more of that. And I think especially because the prior game was a visual novel, I think I almost was just kind of, as I was playing it, just going like, ugh, just make it a visual novel. Where's the visual novel button where I can just skip to da-da-da-da, and I can just kind of jump from room to room like you could in the last one. So I think having the background of Identity made me like the gameplay less, just because I do ultimately like Identity better. And I think that it just kind of made me like, ooh, there is a way that you could simplify this and it works so good, but we tried to make it a little bit bigger, and I liked the simplified version better. So again, basically top-down action game. You run into a room, there's 4 or 5 programs, you attack them, there's a parry, as it is 2025, and every game needs a parry now, even though I can't parry to save my life in any game ever, but it's there. So you basically just have your attack button, your parry, and a dodge. As you go through, there's subtle tweaks to it. Nothing like earth-shattering, though. Eventually, you gain a couple extra powers, and that's really it. You fight basically the same 3 to 5 enemies for the whole game. It's not long. It's maybe 6-7 hours, but it is just kind of that, okay, I'm just kind of mashing attack, throwing in some dodges. Okay, I'm kind of just fighting the same enemies over and over again. So it just kind of gets that repetitive feel to it, which drags it down a little bit. The one piece of the gameplay that I do absolutely love, and again, just it's Tron, so of course, is the light cycle, because who doesn't love a light cycle? So in this, anytime you're kind of walking around town, because a lot of the objectives are kind of go talk to this person, that person sends you to go find this thing. So whenever you're walking around a town or an open area, you can just hit a button to pop open your light cycle and you just drive on it. And it is very cool because it does have the like instant on, instant out that you would have from the movies, where it's just like, oh, I push the button and I am on my light cycle and I'm going. So that's very cool. There's a couple combat scenes in it where you use the light wall behind you. Again, kind of fun to do that, where it's just like, okay, and just kind of try and aim your lines around. I've always thought that would be a really cool game that I just don't feel like has ever really materialized in the right way. This kind of shows that there might be something there for a light cycle game, but those parts are just kind of sprinkled throughout, so it's nothing like a major part of the game, but I do feel like that's kind of the one spot of gameplay I was like, okay, you got me with the light cycles. I'll give you the light cycles are fun. Ultimately, I feel like the narrative stuff and just kind of that Tron feel, if you're interested in Tron, it should be a no-brainer. I just feel like some of the gameplay, there are parts where I think I just kind of checked out. It's like, all right, I'll set it down for a second and go do something else, because the gameplay's not hooking me, and this is like, okay, I'm going to have to fight for a while. Maybe I'll just go do something else for a while and I'll come back to it, because that gameplay just, it didn't click with me. But again, the rest of it is just so good. And ultimately, I kind of just wish it was a visual novel again, but I know that that's a little bit of a harder sell, I think. Last thing I want to say, and I don't know how relevant this is, but because I played Mario Kart World on my Switch 2, I didn't have anything else to play on my Switch 2, so I did actually try this on Switch 2, and it looks gorgeous on Switch 2. It runs so well, and I think having played so many kind of third-party games, even indie games and the size games on my Switch, I feel like you always kind of had to put a disclaimer on it. It felt really cool to be able to go through this and at the end of the game not feel like I played it on this kind of inferior machine. So having it run up on Switch 2, no issues. Everything was gorgeous. Frame rates were great. Everything was great. So it's just kind of nice to be able to go, oh, okay, Switch 2 can handle something that's not a Nintendo first-party game, and we will be okay, and nothing horrible is going to happen. We are Workforce Gaming. Subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment below. There's a link to support us on Patreon as well. We'll see you later.